Hello, listeners. This is Rich Como and Abraham Matha from the Centrist Foundation and www.juststreetsense.com. If you forget our website, just try Just Street Sense. Just like you would in everyday life, you got to have Just Street Sense. So Google will find us very quickly and serve up the page. We're going to start talking about Obamacare. We finished up the previous podcast with generally about insurance and some personal experiences and personal examples. So now we're going to get into the controversial part of the Obamacare. So if you have any questions or comments, please write to us at the website. Please be kind. Please don't use YouTube to flame us. We are trying to be centrist. We are centrist. We're not on either side. We're trying to get America back to talking logically and rationally. So Rich, take it away about what is Obamacare anyways.
Okay. Obamacare, we've talked in the previous podcast about problems with the healthcare system, about high expenses for prescription drugs, for medical devices. We've talked about problems with the indigent care, how our system treats those people. And so Obamacare was an attempt to correct some of the major problems that existed previously in the healthcare system.
Also, wasn't that Obamacare the same thing that was proposed by the Republican legislation a few years before that?
It was. There was, back in 1994, after Bill Clinton was elected, Hillary Clinton led a task force to come up with healthcare reforms. Healthcare reform has been an issue for about 30 years. The Hillary Clinton Democrat-led proposal was defeated in Congress. The Republicans did propose an alternative, and that alternative contained an individual mandate where the Republicans were talking at the time about having people take personal responsibility for their health care expenses. And Obamacare does have some of the same characteristics as the Republican plan, and notably the individual mandate. But in many ways, Obamacare is not a major restructuring of the current healthcare system. Basically, we will still have private insurance companies. You'll still acquire insurance through your employer or through an exchange these days. You still have private hospitals and private physicians. What changes, the big change in Obamacare is that the law requires now that health insurance policies must insure people who approach an insurance company and apply for insurance. They cannot refuse to cover you, particularly because of a pre-existing condition, which was the most common reason why health insurance companies rejected applications in the old system. And the second thing that was a huge problem was that insurance companies were free to drop your insurance if you got sick. They would do things, they would call it a policy rescission, and they would go in and review your application. And on that application, typically they had asked you to list every illness you had had in the last 5 years and every prescription that you'd had in the last 5 years. Nobody could do that correctly from memory. And so the insurance companies basically knew that they had a catch-22 by which they could drop your insurance. And they did. If you got cancer or heart disease or serious ongoing ailment, they would rescind the policy and say basically you lied to us on your application, therefore this policy is not in force any longer.
That's a great point. And to kind of build on that example, life insurance companies do that a lot too, to say, well, you didn't disclose this illness, so we don't have to pay for the life insurance policy that you bought at a very cheap rate anyways. It's the same thing if you go back to our property, casualty, and auto and home insurance. It's like saying the Obamacare says if you take that example to the automobile, to where you already had an accident and all of a sudden you have to go get insurance, and the insurance now has to pay for the insurance that you had before you had insurance. So in some cases, this is not the fairest thing for insurance companies, but it's the best thing for individuals, because if you have pre-existing conditions, the insurance companies have to cover you. And that's what's causing a lot of heartburn in a lot of people in their rating, so to speak, in their insurance policies. So sorry for the interruption. So what was the problem that the insurance companies were doing before?
Well, as I said, the problem was with people who, let's say you had worked for a company for many years, or several companies, but you were employed, let's say you had a heart attack at work, or you got cancer, and you lost your job as a result of that illness. You could continue coverage under
COBRA.
Under COBRA for up to 18 months. But the situation was a lot of people that were very, very sick like that, they couldn't get another job. COBRA coverage happens to be very expensive. When I left my last job, my COBRA coverage was offered at about $1,300 a month, which is kind of expensive. So these people, after 18 months, or maybe they went shopping for insurance to avoid the $1,300 a month rate, and they found that when they applied for insurance, if they said they had currently had cancer and were receiving treatment, that no insurance company would give them insurance. They were all rejected. It's kind of interesting. In Obamacare, there was an interesting debate about a feature called IPAB, this individual physicians review board that was going to set basically what insurance would cover under Medicare and things that insurance would not cover under Medicare. And this is basically an attempt in the long run to bring down the cost curve and bring down the federal deficit in the out years that we're looking at. And Sarah Palin referred to this IPAB as a death panel. And they were going to specify things they were not going to cover. And everybody got kind of upset about the death panel. In my view, we've had death panels around for a long, long time. And primarily the death panel was at your local health insurance company. Because these people who lost their jobs and were previously covered by a group policy and had to get out on their own and go to several insurance companies and apply for private health insurance, and they were rejected every single time. If you had cancer and your care was going to run $100,000 a year, and you didn't have health insurance, you were in pretty bad shape.
Yeah, they even made a movie with Denzel Washington about that, or a movie where his son was sick and he could not get insurance, and his son was not taken care of after he lost his job. So part of the reasons for bringing this up, I know you and I have talked offline about that, is there are people and politicians, and some of them are not even politicians, they're entertainers, they're going out there trying to make a name for themselves to make money at it, hang their hat on certain things and twist the facts. And that's part of the Centrist Foundation. We believe that we got to get the facts out. We got to teach people what the facts really are. So thank you for bringing that up.